We are currently 56 days away from the November 3rd presidential election, less than 2 months away, and currently Joe Biden holds a 7.5 national polling lead over Donald Trump. So I figured in this video I will be just giving my predictions for how each state will go and what the results of the final election will be. Now I'll begin by filling in the states that I have characterized as likely to the Democrats. I've already filled in the solid states for Republicans and Democrats respectively, and I will now move on to the likely states, and that would be the state of Colorado and the state of Virginia. Colorado shouldn't be much of a surprise here. Still considered to be a very most likely going to the Democrats. It's not in solid territory yet, but it is good to be in the likely position here. Virginia is a state that used to be a full-on battleground. It used to be a real swing state, but it's moved more and more to the left over the past elections, and it's very apparent that it most likely will not be a swing state anytime soon, as it is now characterized as likely to the Democrats. Now, for the Republicans, I can't really say state. The only likely category I have here is the 2nd Congressional District in Nebraska. I have characterized as likely to the Republicans. Now that I've done that, I will move on to the lean category for each of the parties. And lean for the Democrats, I have the state of Arizona, Nevada, Michigan, Maine as a whole, New Hampshire, and Wisconsin. Now, Arizona, we've talked a lot on this channel about how it's becoming more and more democratic, the demographic is changing, and it's moving further and further away from the Republicans, and we feel it is very likely that it'll flip and do so in a pretty large margin that we have it characterized as lean. Nevada is another state that seems to be getting closer, but it's still a comfortable lead for the Democrats and is characterized as a lean. New Hampshire is a state that was oddly close in 2016. It's still comfortably in possession of the Democrats. I don't think it'll be as close as it was in 2016. Just a 0.3% margin is what it was in the last election. I think Joe Biden will win it by a larger margin than that. Now, these two states that I've characterized as lean to the Democrats are two very important battleground states in this upcoming election. I'll start with Michigan. If we head over to the polls and look at where Michigan lies, Joe Biden currently has a 6.6% lead over Donald Trump, and you can see the recent polling suggests their numbers like 11, a lot of double-digit leads for Joe Biden. This is a state that Donald Trump was not expected to win in 2016, and the polling seems to be suggesting that even though it was very close in 2016, it most likely will not remain the same. People in Michigan aren't exactly too happy about the work that Donald Trump has done, and for that reason, I feel they will flip back to the Democrats and go for Joe Biden. The state of Wisconsin is another important state. Once again, was not expected at all for Donald Trump to take it in 2016. If we head over to the national average, 7.5 lead for Joe Biden. That is a very substantial lead. Once again, very high polling leads for Joe Biden. This state, generally, the pattern has seen that this state has followed the national trend, and Wisconsin is a state that like I said, Trump was not expected to win, and this is a very substantial lead for Joe Biden to have this late in the election cycle, and for that reason, I have Wisconsin as a lean to the Democrat. Now for the lean Republican states, I have that as Georgia, North Carolina, Iowa, and Ohio, and also the 2nd Congressional District in Maine. Now, these are a few important states here. North Carolina was a state that Hillary Clinton contended for. She thought she would have a good chance of winning. However, Donald Trump won by a pretty large margin, and it seems comfortable that it is going to the Republicans once again. Georgia is a state that seems to be having a real demographic change, and it could be a battleground state in the upcoming elections. But for now, it is characterized as lean to the Republicans, as I don't see it changing much. Ohio, like Virginia, used to be a real battleground state, but the Republican Party has really taken over the state, and over the past few elections have won it by pretty large margins, and for that reason, I have to have it as lean for the Republicans and not tilt, and the same goes for Iowa. So now you can see right now, currently, Joe Biden holds the lead 259 to Donald Trump's 182. So now I'll move on to the tilt states, the states that I have characterized as tilt to either side. I'll start with Joe Biden. The states that I have tilted to Joe Biden right now is Pennsylvania and Minnesota. Minnesota is a very interesting state in this upcoming election. We could very easily see a flip for Donald Trump. The polling, I'll bring it up, for Minnesota has actually gotten pretty close lately, 6.2. It's one of the closer, I don't know if I want to call it a battleground state, but it's one of the closer swing states. And Donald Trump recently received an endorsement from 6 Democratic mayors in the state of Minnesota, and that leads me to believe that it is very likely that Donald Trump could flip it. However, at this current moment, I haven't seen enough polls to suggest that he is there quite yet, so I have it as tilt for Joe Biden. Pennsylvania is arguably the most important state in this election. Currently, Joe Biden holds a 4.1 lead. That is very close for the battleground states. We looked at Michigan and Wisconsin, we're up at 6 and 7. So Donald Trump has narrowed this margin very tightly. You can see there are polls that are close. This one from Rasmussen, generally more Republican leaning poll, but it had it even. Very reliable polls down here had it very close. So Pennsylvania is a state that's going to be very close in this upcoming election. However, it seems as of right now that Joe Biden holds the lead, not only in the polling, but the general trends suggest that as the national difference is so high that the swing states must be following, and for that reason, I characterize Pennsylvania as tilt to Joe Biden. That leaves 2 more states, as you are probably aware. I will be characterizing them as tilt to Donald Trump, and that is the state of Texas. I'll begin with Texas. Texas is a state that is narrowing very rapidly. It will, without a doubt, be a battleground state in the 2024 election, and it is getting pretty close. If we head over to the averages in Texas, Donald Trump just has a 1.1% lead over Joe Biden, and that is huge for a state like Texas where Republicans tend to be oversampled. This shows the real demographic change happening in that area, along with Arizona. We've seen it. But Texas, not ready to characterize it for the Democrats just yet. I do believe Donald Trump will be able to keep it, whether that's a very small margin or however it may be. I do believe Donald Trump will keep it. Florida is a another battleground state. I'll head over to the average. The recent polls have been very good for Donald Trump lately. The difference is just 1.8, and that is very, very small for all the swing states. Recent polls had it even and also had Donald Trump up in the state of Florida. Another poll had Trump. This is a very Republican leaning poll, but +3 is a pretty good lead for Trump. So that leads me to believe that Florida, along with being Trump's second home, the people down there seem to like him for whatever reason. Um, and the state of Florida voted for him pretty substantially in the 2016 election. So for that reason, I characterize Florida as a tilt Republican state. Now, as you can see, this is my final map. I currently have Joe Biden with a slim lead over Donald Trump, 289 to 249. Currently, I do believe Joe Biden will win the presidency, just based on this map, but obviously things are subject to change, as we could see states like Minnesota and Pennsylvania flip. Also, these states that no one expected to flip in 2016, they could go for Donald Trump. We could also see a real blue wave and see Florida go for Joe Biden, even see Texas go for Joe Biden. So this election is going to be very wild. It's going to be rapidly changing. So I foresee many of these videos coming out in the near future as things change very quickly and new polls come out and we get a more clear sense of what is going to happen in this election. But for now, this is where I have everything standing. Currently, Joe Biden with a slim lead over Donald Trump.